Bible stories with details you may not have picked up on. Today we're going to be talking about the book of Ruth, and this is from a special request from an awesome little dude named Luke.
Can we do Ruth 4 for the next one?
Not Ruth 4, just the book of Ruth.
Ruth.
Just regular Ruth.
Yeah. Can we just do Ruth for the next one?
Yeah.
So the book of Ruth is kind of cute. It's this little love story. It starts off sad and then it ends up getting happy. So it's kind of cool. So there's this girl named Naomi, and Naomi has a husband and 2 sons. One of her sons is married to this woman named Ruth. Now, tragedy strikes. Naomi's husband and both of her sons, including the husband of Ruth, pass away. So Naomi, talking to her daughters-in-law, and trying to get them to go back to their parents' houses, essentially, just saying hey, this is horrible, but I want you to go back and live with your people, go back and live with your families because I can't do anything for you. But Ruth views them more as family and says wherever you go, I want to go with you. So they do that, and they end up traveling, and they come to this place where she ends up meeting this guy named Boaz. Now, Boaz is actually a relative of the deceased husband. So according to the law of Moses, he would be the one that would be capable of remarrying her so that he can give her descendants through the same genealogy. And so she spends some time with him, and they're farming in the field and doing weird stuff like that. And eventually Naomi is talking to Ruth about this, and Ruth says that I met this guy, his name is Boaz. And then Naomi tells her oh, well, that's one of our relatives. You could go for that. You can marry him. So then she gets all dolled up. She takes a bath, which was rare back then. She takes a bath, she puts on her nicest clothing, and then she sneaks into the bed of Boaz, and she lays down by his feet. So around midnight, he wakes up and sees a woman there and kind of freaks out for a second. He's okay, that's weird. And she ends up proposing the question, saying hey, you could redeem my family by marrying me. You can give me descendants if you were to marry me. Boaz says, yes, I could. However, there's someone that's actually closer. He's next in line, so he would get to marry you first. So tomorrow morning, we'll find out if he will marry you. And if for whatever reason he doesn't want to, then I promise I will. So Boaz goes and he approaches the other guy. He's hey, if you want, you can have all of this land that belonged to this woman's dead husband. And the guy's yeah, absolutely, I'll take it. And then Boaz is but you have to marry her in order to do it. And the guy's if I do that, then that's going to mess up my properties. I won't be able to do that. So yeah, I'm not going to do it. So then Boaz, true to his word, marries Ruth. And he ends up giving her descendants. He ends up continuing that lineage, which we see at the very end of the 4th chapter of Ruth. It shows that Ruth was actually King David's great-grandmother. So had Ruth not married Boaz, David would never have been born, which means that Solomon would never have been born. Which means that 12 or 13 generations after Solomon, Jesus would not have been born. Which means that the entire thing, as weird as that sounds, every aspect of that, the death of the first husband, the remarriage, Boaz, the guy turning him down, denying everything, every single aspect of that was planned by God in order to deliver himself, deliver the Messiah into the world. That is so amazing, so beautiful, kind of cool. So it's kind of this little Hallmark love story about this woman who tragically loses her husband and then finds a very, very honorable guy who redeems her family, cherishes her, and gives her descendants that leads to King David. I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what's next. Follow me on X. God bless.